Mykonos Offshore Regatta is brought to you by Club Mykonos and Casino Langebaan. Race day dawned blustery with a massive traditional tablecloth tumbling down over Table Mountain. Now in its 21st year, the magic of the Mykonos Offshore continues. Entries grew to 128, setting an all-time record for any offshore regatta in South Africa. In some ways, it's the modern sailor's version of a local mini transatlantic, with all the thrills of an exciting downwind run, followed by a stay in a safe harbour and plenty of partying. The well-attended skipper's briefing was an indication of the wide appeal that the regatta has for both hardcore yachties and cruising sailors alike. With even more glitz and glamour, pretty girls and cold champagne on arrival at Mykonos, the razzmatazz attracted boats and crews from all over the country.
Come on, might not make it.
Quite simply, it's the place to be if you're a sailor. Boats of every shape and size entered, from very small keelers all the way up to the state-of-the-art Corby 49 Cape Fling. They were up against the big monster, a Seacart 30 multi-hull, to take line honours on the downwind dash to Club Mykonos. Race organisers split the fleet up into smaller pockets of equal boats, which made for a less crowded start line. As much as it's a sport, sailing is also about lifestyle. Catering for many cruising class boats, the Mykonos Offshore Regatta once again made it possible for family and friends to participate as well. Conditions in Table Bay were tough, and the club class crews had their work cut out for them.
After 2 hours of fighting with a spinnaker, boy oh boy, have we got it down.
Just drop the halyards a little bit and it'll come out.
There it goes and out, the big bag's flying.
As a family, it's a wonderful day to get out there and have some fun and watch the other boats and compete on the water as well. Today it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially with a slightly inexperienced crew. But we'll give it our best shot, and as will the rest of the people out there, and I'm sure we'll all have fun.
The Club 2 fleet got off to a flying start, with Mafuta, a Bavaria 36 skippered by Matthijs Lawrence, first to round the Pardon Island weather mark, ahead of the L34's Lapwing and Spectrum. The Pacer 27s also used the regatta as the second half of their national championships. The wind over the bay at the weather mark was gusting close to 40 knots and would ensure plenty of drama on the run to Mykonos. Club Mykonos is an icon of the West Coast and has blossomed into one of the most well-known resorts in South Africa. Its tranquil Greek-style setting catering for both local and international guests alike. Management and staff pulled out all the stops to ensure that this year's event would be a huge success.
Club Mykonos have been absolutely fantastic in their sponsorship, and they continue to support this event. We really do appreciate their contribution every year, and obviously we bring nearly 1,000 people to the resort for the weekend. It's a social weekend, it's hardcore racing, it's family time, so that's why I think the event is so popular.
In the IRC racing fleet, Puma Unleashed got off to a miserable start. Miscommunication caused them to be over the line, resulting in them having to do a 360-degree turn before starting again. Rick Nankin on wind power got clean air on the beat to the weather mark. Puma Unleashed recovered to chase the rest of the fleet in pursuit of the leaders. A 40-knot southeasterly at the start saw many of the crews looking very tentative at the prospect of having to hoist spinnakers at the turn. Eddie de Villiers on the refurbished Wellborn 46 High Fidelity was in hot pursuit of Cape Fling, a Corby 49 owned by Lord Irvin Laidlaw of Scotland. Cape Fling opened up a sizable lead and was the first to round the Pardon Island Weather Buoy, followed by High Fidelity and Wind Power. Foredeck work plays a crucial role, and in the ferocious southeasterly, crews had to work smartly to ensure that there was no damage to sails and rigging. Skippered by Jan Reuvers, Red Goldswain's Auto Atlantic Thunderchild and Harry Brem on Southern Storm were all well placed in the middle of the IRC fleet. In the full force of a raging southeaster, several boats were totally overpowered, causing them to either broach or damage sails and rigging. Thunderchild and Puma Unleashed suffered a similar fate at almost the same time.
We had a brand new sails on the boat and we went and blew one of them. Literally, I think the sail had been used for about 20 minutes and now it's a chuck away.
How did that happen?
We were going through a jibe, downwind, changing direction downwind, and the gust was just too much.
Even for the leader, Cape Fling, conditions were difficult to read and they also had their fair share of problems to contend with.
We chose the safe, easy route by jibing first to get out of the strong wind. And then we had a few issues and we didn't jibe back early enough. So mainly my mistake that I got a bit greedy hoping to get outside Robin without losing the wind, but we lost the wind and we had to get back inside her again. So we had a lot of catching up to do, but it was a very bad tactical mistake actually.
With the IRC fleet well established on the downwind dash to Mykonos, High Fidelity managed to hang on to second place behind Cape Fling.
The start was quite hectic. We had about 30-35 knots, but great fun, and we surprised ourselves. As I say, we weren't really focused on actually going all out for the regatta, but we suddenly found ourselves going away from everybody.
Wind Power, a landmark 43 skippered by Rick Nankin, is more suited to lighter conditions, and they had to work hard to hang on to their third place. As the fleet made their way up the west coast, it would be a fast run to the gate at Dasson Island. Consisting of a long-distance race of 65 nautical miles to Mykonos on the west coast, followed by a pursuit race of 26 nautical miles in Saldanha Bay, it was billed as the most fun under the west coast sun.
We sailed from Cape Town to a gate at Dasson Island, which is a little island off Azefontein. All yachts have to go through the gate, and then from the gate they head off down to Longabon and through the finish line outside the Club Mykonos harbour. So there's 110 yachts sailing down the west coast or up the west coast to Longabon and Club Mykonos.
The Mykonos Offshore Regatta is well suited to club class sailing, and for the families and friends that participated, Club Mykonos offered a safe haven within easy reach from Cape Town.
In South Africa we've got a fairly tough coastline, but the Saldanha Bay and Mykonos particularly is a fantastic destination for us. Also coming from Cape Town, it's just a day, so it's a 60 miles or so sail, and it's a wonderful destination on the west coast.
Amongst the big boats, it didn't take long for the Corby 49 to stretch its legs and take the lead on the 65 nautical mile course. With an average speed of just over 10 knots, Cape Fling finished the first day's race to Mykonos in 5 hours, 49 minutes and 12 seconds to take line honours in their first Mykonos regatta. High Fidelity put in a great performance to finish just over 3 minutes later in second place. The Royal Cape Yacht Club entry Pacer 1, skippered by Rion Turner, finished in third place overall and first in the Pacer 27 Sport Division. Taking second place in their division and with one race left to complete, Unruly was in a strong position to win the Pacer 27 national champs. They only needed to finish one place ahead of Pacer 1 in the pursuit race in order to clinch the title. On corrected handicap time, Wind Power managed to take fourth place at the end of the first day's long distance race.
No, just excellent. I mean, strong wind in Table Bay, very strong. Just kept our heads and kept the boat together. Yeah, and the boat's not great downwind, so we just kept upright and played a conservative race. But a lot of people fell down and fell all around, so we actually did okay. But on handicap, it won't be a fantastic result for us.
Club Mykonos had several groups of bikini-clad girls waiting at the marina to welcome the boats in. In true Mykonos tradition, each skipper was handed an ice-cold bottle of champagne to celebrate their safe arrival.
It's a day in the office.
It was no mean feat accommodating more than 1,000 participants, as well as the large fleet of boats that had to be packed into the relatively small marina. Club Mykonos has had a long association with the regatta, and with a full day's sailing behind them, the crews were no doubt looking forward to enjoying the hospitality of the resort and the planned festivities. Another icon of the West Coast is the elite formation aerobatic team of the South African Air Force, the Silver Falcons. Club Mykonos and Air Force Base Langebaanweg have been good neighbours for many years, and the airspace around Mykonos is often used by the Silver Falcons for practice sessions. Under the watchful eye of team leader Roy Spile, the new members of the team were perfecting the art of formation flying and display aerobatics. The sailors at Club Mykonos were treated to their own mini air show, a fitting end to a great day under the West Coast sun. The West Coast region has an abundance of tantalizing attractions for visitors and holidaymakers. Located on the shores of the magical Langebaan Lagoon, Club Mykonos has everything that you need to turn an ordinary vacation into a holiday experience that will keep you coming back for more.
We're a typical sort of Greek island almost in the middle of the West Coast. It's a perfect spot to come to if you have a yacht. I think we're one of the only privately owned harbours in the country, and it has everything it can offer a guy that's going to dock in here for a weekend. We've got full facilities, there's 361 calivas, they've all been refurbed nicely. The lagoon has got some of the nicest sailing in the whole of the country, so it's perfectly sheltered from the main ocean, and you have some beautiful sailing that's available in the lagoon. As a resort, we like to try and keep everyone here, so it's almost your piece of Greece, an island almost if you like. And yeah, it runs as a town. It's more of a town than it is a resort. We have everything that a family would need here, and we have numerous facilities for children. We like to try and give the adults a bit of a break at the same time. So it's obviously the children, we want to try and keep them entertained. We've just built an AstroTurf. There's a full kiddies program. It's our pride and joy. We call it Club Unos, so we can babysit everybody and kids can have a very good time here. Yeah, and then the adults can also, we spoil them a little bit. There's a full beauty therapy center here with an indoor pool. We have saunas and steam baths and treatment rooms. There's a full gym. Yeah, and then on top of that, obviously there's 7 restaurants on the property. It's everything you're going to need. It's an isolated little town. Yeah, if you're bored of your yacht, we have jet skis that are available for rent on the property as well. There are 2 sorts of rubber ducks we offer as well. The one is the Fast and Furious. It's a 7-seater rubber duck that'll take guys on a very quick trip around the lagoon. And then there's slower ones that a guy can take a trip around the lagoon itself and see a bit more of it. So there's plenty to do on the water as well as on the resort itself. We're lucky enough to have a casino here as well. The casino is a fantastic asset to the property. It draws in a lot of people, and it also provides a bit more of nightlife for people. So, after you finish with the restaurants and your kids are asleep, then that's the place to be.
Day 2 of the Mykonos Offshore Regatta arrived quiet and peaceful, with a gentle southerly wind kissing the turquoise waters of the bay. The course for the smaller boats had been shortened by about 5 miles, which meant that the fleet would complete the race in a more compact time frame. It also made different tactics to be considered by those using the new course.
Day 2 is a pursuit race where the slowest boat goes first and the fastest yacht goes last. The whole idea of the race is to try and get the fast yachts catching up to the slow boats on the course. So we can have the slowest boat starting at 10:30 in the morning and the fastest yacht going off at 12:30 in the afternoon. And the trick is to try and get them all finishing more or less at the same time. The pursuit race is in the Saldanha Bay. It's about a 26-mile course in Saldanha Bay around Jutton Island, up into the Longabaan Lagoon or just short of the Longabaan Lagoon, and then back to Club Mykonos.
The L26s were some of the early starters in the pursuit race. Eco Energy Team Escape, skippered by Rodney Tanner, had to work hard in the gentle conditions to improve on their third place standing after the long distance race on day 1. Lying second overall in the Pacer 27 division, Music Sebago was pushing hard. With a high handicap rating, Puma Unleashed was one of the last boats in the IRC division to start. Hillbilly, a J27 skippered by Peter Hill, was lying 4th overall in the Club 2 fleet. With the wind picking up, Puma Unleashed was able to make good time to the windward mark at the southern end of the course. But all eyes were focused on a high fidelity. A corrected handicap time for the long distance race placed them 1st overall. All they had to do was finish in the top 5 to secure an outright win in the IRC fleet. High fidelity is highly competitive, and Eddie de Villiers will be taking the boat to Europe on a 2-year racing program. Competitive sailing is no longer a men's only sport. Ladies are just as capable of carrying out many of the important tasks on the boat, making the sport more attractive to the fairer sex. Sarah Niedzwiecki started her sailing career on high-end luxury charter yachts and is now an integral part of the sailing team aboard Cape Fling.
I started sailing as a kid, doing summer junior sailing programs, and carried on through high school and university, and then somehow got a call one day to go sailing, and but that was more on the super yacht side. Started working on boats in the Caribbean, in the Med, and realized that you can make a living out of just racing. You don't have to do the other stuff, and so decided find a program that would take me and get going. There's many roles that girls can slip in on these boats, especially the smaller range boats. There's always a weight issue, and girls are naturally smaller, usually a little bit more nimble, and I think a smaller boat is definitely the way to go. Get in there, do any job. I mean, a lot of the time it's just, packing the sails, like what I do. Sitting on the rail, being that person to push the buttons, person who goes low. And then from there's tons of girls doing it.
Sarah and the rest of the crew have been working hard to get Cape Fling into a finely tuned racing machine.
Cape Fling will stay in South Africa. We're doing a couple of modifications over your winter to speed her up a little bit, optimize her, and we'll be back next year. And hopefully a couple more people.
Saturday morning was perfect for sailing, with a steady southerly on the bay with flat water. With spinnakers flying, the Pacer 27s had rounded the southern weather mark and were headed northwards to the ore terminal in Saldanha Bay, Pacer 1 leading the fleet on the downwind leg. This year, race organisers had decided to shorten the route for the smaller craft by about 5 nautical miles. The leg into North Bay, as well as the leg to the Northeast Buoy, was removed. After rounding the number 2 buoy, the most northerly turn on the course, it would be a short reach to Dial Rock and then directly onto Jutton Island. As the fleet made their way back to Mykonos, the downwind leg provided some spectacular sailing. Southern Storm, a pace of 3.76 skippered by Harry Brem, was pushing to improve on their 6th placing in the long-distance race. They still had to do battle with Tenacity 2, who was already 1 place ahead in the overall standings. On the leg around Jutton Island to the northeast mark in the middle of the bay, Puma Unleashed had sliced her way through the IRC fleet and looked set to take 2nd place in the pursuit race. Rockstar, a modified FAR 38, also did exceptionally well and was lying 3rd in the Club 1 fleet. High Fidelity surprised everyone. They were first to reach Dawson Island and took 2nd place in the long-distance race. Lying 4th in the bay race, there was every chance that they'd clinch the trophy.
It's a pursuit race, so it's always a bit chancy. You don't know whether you're going to catch the front guys before it finishes and different breezes and everything, but if it all totals up, we might be in with a chance there.
Coram, a Philips brand 43 skippered by Jan Revers, sailed a consistent race. With a 3rd place in the long-distance race to Mykonos and their 7th place in the pursuit race meant that they were in with a good chance to finish within the top 5 in the IRC fleet. Cape Fling, who had taken line honours in the long-distance race, dropped off the pace quite dramatically in the pursuit race. In the end, they only managed a 6th place overall in the IRC fleet. In true Mykonos style, the Greek goddesses were on hand to hand over prizes and assist in the proceedings.
Please give a big hand to Hilton Hale, the race commodore, and his team for organising such a wonderful event.
With a display of consistently good sailing and a worst place of 3rd, the focus was on Unruly, who had done a solid job of winning the 2011 Pacer National Championships. Ted Cattell has participated in every Mykonos Offshore regatta so far and took 1st place in Club 1. The Line Honours Trophy, a paraffin tin can which dates back to 1936, went to Cape Fling for their win in the long-distance race. Eddie de Villiers and the crew of High Fidelity walk away with the trophy for their 1st place in the IRC racing class. Another hugely successful Mykonos Offshore regatta had been completed with a very happy sponsor and equally happy competitors. At the current rate of increase, there should be 140 entries in 2012. Competitors and support crews hailed this year's Mykonos Offshore Regatta as a huge success, and they'd be back again next year. Mykonos Offshore Regatta was brought to you by Club Mykonos and Casino, Langebaan.